Chat. No, I'm not going to read the chat anymore. I might reply. Maybe I'll type something in the chat, right?
But I'm
not gonna read the chat anymore because Alex and I are gonna have a wonderful conversation. We've been planning this for a very long time, actually. So we're gonna make this happen.
Why I appreciate you doing that is because I have a select. For the people listening with Silent right now, you don't know. He doesn't know. You didn't realize that he does not know what direction we're going with this podcast. But I'd like to get a little bit. I guess we'll even have to refrain from getting more intimate with. I was going to interview you and really get to know you, but now you've got quite a stage, and we don't need to reveal that much. What I really want to do is pick your brain down. This is going to be philosophical theory for the next hour. So buckle up, because I would like to have a think tank with somebody that comes from a different walk of life on a topic you don't know about, but I know you long enough now to know that this will resonate with you. So with that being said, we're going to cut into the episode.
Let's do it.
And I'm going to be very excited to talk to you about this.
So I love that term, think tank. Think tank. I mean, you know what a think tank is? Like, how's a think tank go, James?
Yeah, they got cancel culture nowadays. You gotta watch what you say. It's getting real scary out here.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't know if I can take the conversation here, but we might as well. It's the Rethink Tank. Looks like you had a little bit too much to think here in the Rethink Tank. Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining us again. Today's episode, we are going to theorize and pick apart the balance between law and order, because we live in a very human reality that we cannot distill that there are actors that have human flaws, but we also need to rely on a system of human actors to try to keep some order to this whole thing. And that is going to kind of be the avenue we take this dialogue. That being said, somebody that joins us on a weekly basis on our live show and someone that I enjoy really talking to is my good friend, SilentDestroyer. Silent, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How's everybody doing today?
Here's what I can appreciate. Of all the guests I talk to, you and I guess Ricky, but I haven't talked to Ricky in a minute. You're one of the only guests that'll have like a roll, like see the roll across the bottom of the screen.
Yes.
I mean, I can appreciate, and that's why I think I'm excited for today's episode. You're someone from a totally different walk of life that I've actually been able to build a relationship with and get to know on a different level. And I can know that this will be a topic that resonates with you as I wait until you see the layers of, I get to see behind the green room here, all the videos lined up. You don't get to see what I have in store.
I'm excited. I'm really excited for this episode. Like I said, we've been wanting to do this for a while, and I'm really excited. Shout out B Smalls for the role, by the way, because he made that. I'm pretty sure. Shout out B Smalls, captured with the Dolphins. Hashtag free B Smalls. If anybody sees B Smalls while deep diving in the Caribbean or something, like, let us know. We've been looking for him for months now.
That's a perfect launch pad, Silent, to, again, this difficult balance between law and order. Because, of course, we need a system, but one of the past few times we've talked is this discussion of, like, a distrust for the police. And while we need them having personal dangerous experiences. So what I'm excited about is here's somebody from a different country that's had a different avenue of life, but also has experience to balance the idea of what is a good government, what is a good society, what should we want. And with that being said, I want to consider what it looks like without any of it. I don't know if you're familiar with someone named Michael Malice, but I really love listening to him talk because one, he proclaims himself as like an internet troll, and he's just like a different philosophical mind. And one of the more interesting folks that I experienced through getting my degree in philosophy was the people who tied themselves to anarchy. The philosophical doctrine seemed to be the most like unique minded. And while I never truly can commit or agree with that position, I see so many fruits to the points they make. So Michael Malice is someone that's often on Joe Rogan, and he had a great interview with Jordan Peterson recently. And I just wanted, we're going to cut to a clip here of his description of anarchy and how you could apply it in the real world.
This anarchy thing, like, how serious are you about that?
100% serious.
100% serious.
Yes.
So anarchists think there should be no cops?
No, anarchists don't think there should be government cops. There should be private security.
Oh, private security. What if you're poor?
Well, same thing. No one wants to have a scenario like if you go to a bar, you're not paying for the doorman, or if you're going to a hotel, you're not paying for security. The point is, whoever has an environment wants it to be as safe as possible.
Okay, stop right there.
Okay,
because if you go into a bar, if you're buying a drink, the bar is taking some of the money from that drink to pay for that security.
Correct.
It's the same thing as you paying taxes.
It's not the same thing as you paying taxes.
Well, let's just look at it this way. It's just money into a pool, right?
It's not just money.
Okay, but hold, please. If you throw the money into a pool, but you didn't even let me explain.
Okay.
If you throw the money into the pool, okay, and obviously taxes get taken from you, it's different in that regard. But if you have a certain amount of money, a certain amount of money is going to go to protecting the people. And this is the idea of police force, and this is the idea of a bouncer. Or at least a bouncer is more likely acting in the interest of the club and trying to keep out bad people and trying to keep people from getting sued. But the money for the drinks goes to that. Some of it, a percentage of it goes to that. Much like your tax money, some of it goes to the cops. Right?
Correct. But the big difference is one is voluntary and one is forceful, and one is a monopoly and one isn't. So if you had a free system, you would have more security because the streets would have someone doing security and the bar and the store, and they would be complementary to each other, as opposed to you only have to dial 911. Wouldn't it be, look how many dating sites there are, right? Wouldn't it be great if instead of one number, you had dozens of places that are going to offer you security?
So like private businesses that work like Uber, you give them a call when you're getting like you press a button.
Sure.
One with the dude with his pants down, you press a button and then someone shows up.
We have that now. And
what do we have now?
I mean, if you go to a apartment building or a business building, there is going to be security there already. You're not going to, you're not going to call the cop. You're going to call the downstairs.
Those people are just book readers.
Sure.
They're sitting there playing with their phone. They used to be book readers. Now they're phone players.
Well, I'd rather they be reading books than shooting dogs. So that's where we are.
Right. I see what you're saying. In terms of, that's the grossest shit ever when you see SWAT teams show up and shoot people's dogs and people get.
And that's the problem with having a monopoly is there's no consequences.
Yes.
So there's all these cases where, dogs get shot, the flash grenade in the baby's crib. Yeah. These people aren't like Eric Garner. The only person who got in trouble for Eric Garner dying is the guy who filmed it. I mean, if you are a cook and you are serving food and you undercook chicken, it's a mistake, honest mistake, and someone gets sick, that shouldn't be your job. But if you're a police officer often, and I'm going to get a lot of heat for this, and that's fine, if something bad happens as a consequence of your actions, there have to be consequences that maybe this isn't the right job for you.
Well, oftentimes there is. If there's an inappropriate shooting or something along those lines. But I think you're right. And I mean, I've experienced abusive cops. I think we all have. And I also think that it's very, very, very difficult to be that guy every day and not become abusive and not become worn out by it, not become extremely stressed out. I'm a big supporter of police. I just don't think that it's a job for everybody. I think being a cop is like a lot of other jobs that are, especially that one, that's super fucking difficult. The idea that you just hire people off the street and run them through some tests and they're going to make great cops.
I agree.
It's crazy.
I agree. And what happens is when you're a monopoly, you don't have to be efficient or effective.
I think they should hire former military. That's what I think.
Have a police state.
Hire people. No, hire people that have discipline. Hire people that have gone through some experience in actual combat, who know how to handle pressure better, and then make it a very, very valuable job, and make it a very very strict codes of conduct and behavior and action.
I think another problem the police have in their defense is when you have public streets. People have certain rights, and they can act however. Like here in LA, you have all these people, these tents, and I thought my understanding is the government said you can't clear out those tents.
That is hilarious, isn't it?
And now the cops can't do anything, so they are hamstrung from being able to do their jobs. Whereas if this was private, this would not be happening.
So before I kind of exhaust a diatribe here. Silent, what are your thoughts?
I mean,
should we go to anarchy?
Look, I don't think anarchy will work because eventually the human nature will take over, and there's just going to be people that want to suck up all the power and control everything and abuse their power, because power absolutely corrupts. It always has, it always does. If you read human history books, if you read any sort of psychological books, you will understand that power just absolutely corrupts. It really does. Unfortunately, that's just part of it. And in order to find someone who is not going to abuse his power, you are going to have to make sure that that person has not only their best interests in place, they also have the best interests of everyone around them in place too, right? That's why for thousands of years, if you think about it, absolute monarchies worked, right? It's because the king and the queen, they had our best interest. Wow. I don't need to worry about what the king and queen are doing. I just turn off my brain and do what I want to do every day, and the king and queen will take care of it, you know? And that worked for thousands of years, right? Until obviously a whole bunch of Brits were like, yo, fuck the king, fuck the queen. We're going to go to the new world. We're going to go explore there, and we're going to make our own constitution. And we're going to make our own laws and rules. And the reason why it's been so successful, if you think about it, is because, you know, even back then when the Constitution was written in the 1700s, they had everybody in mind, all the people, right? Of course, It was, you know, you had to be like of a certain class, right? But as the years went by and as the country got older and as more people came to the new world, they started to, you know, amend the Constitution, make it a little bit better, you know, include everybody, women, children, you know, people of all age, race, color, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the foundations of the constitutions are the reason why America is so strong. It's because it was written in such easy to understand and clear language that, listen, we the people, for the people, by the people. And that's why it's been so successful for so long. A lot of people don't give enough credit to the Constitution, I think.
I can appreciate that point. And I like how the thread that ties your point together is how power is corrupt. And it corrupts absolutely. And what's funny is you see a corrupted power structure and you feel the way to solve it is with money. And yet we know money is the root of all evil. So it's just kind of like trying to put out a fire with just torches. At the same time, though, if money being spent in a free market in its purest sense, it should, and, you know, I passionately advocate for this. I did a So Here's Where I'm At, deeply advocating for how you vote with your views and you vote with your dollars.
It's true.
If you could have a pure free market where people are cognitively using their dollars as their vote, like, again, if you don't like the red dye in food, if we consciously, the hive, operated in this sense, you wouldn't need RFK Jr. to come in here and save everybody by making it illegal. If
100%.
we all demanded it with our dollars, they would change to that. So I find a problem with solving, you know, a corrupted power structure with the root of all evil. However, if you use money as a transparent and more as a conduit, we'll say, for the opinion of the hive, then you would probably be able to find that success, but you'll never, like you said, be able to really accomplish that in the purest sense. Additionally, I don't like that we can have a dialogue about you kind of flirted with the idea of how it's just people. They can be corrupted too. It's just the natural instinct of people. And yet when a, you know, police officer messes up, we, the people, the taxpayer pays for it. It's like, wait, you pay half my paycheck every 2 weeks. And then that guy screws up and you take it from from my paycheck? From our pot of money? Like, again, Joe Rogan sitting there going, wait. Like, notice how Michael Malice didn't want to play that role or that game. Like, you are trying to say the police, the fire department is similar to my point because we're just collecting the money, and with that money, we're doing this thing. Michael Malice's point is, but you're still missing how that, while is a good virtue, is a monopoly. And he's advocating for a similar virtue, but with competition. And competition breeds, hopefully the best version of what you're looking for. So
100%.
I don't like that Joe Rogan's point is take a collection of the pot of the people. And then with that pot, when that person messes up, we're still paying for that. So it's like I'm getting double spanked. Are you willing to walk a road with me? Here's an interesting clip. And me and Doug, our producer, when we do our live show, Doug and I do a reactions channel. And one of the things I've been really getting fun with is watching these videos of, I don't know if you've seen First Amendment auditors, but they're these people that walk around with the cameras and they're legally allowed to do it. And I love watching the Karens and the public get humbled with like, you think I didn't give you permission. You didn't have to.
You didn't have to.
And that goes for the police too, right? I should refrain from exclaiming exactly what I do, but also being in similar positions. My boss is like, they're not allowed to do that in here. It's like, well, I will try to tell them no, but I also am on their side, and I believe that they're allowed to. And hopefully they do what's right and push this thing to the tippy top, and then the virtue will rise again, which is why these audits are necessary. They're doing it so if the one guy says it perfectly. It's like a muscle. If I don't work it out, it gets weak. It doesn't work anymore. So I have to make sure that I continue to have this right, or else I'll lose it. Balanced with the fact that people, if you do realize Target was filming you the whole time you were in the parking lot without your permission. But we're so indoctrinated into believing that, like, well, it's for safety and it's corporations. Like, yeah, Daddy Corporation owns you, and you're blinded to the fact that you're more triggered because, again, the women would choose finding a bear on the path versus a stranger. We've made our neighbor so scary and dangerous that I would give all of my privacy to Target without batting an eye before even considering I didn't give my neighbor permission. Well, you didn't have to.
Yeah.
So I know that was a long diatribe, but in the vein of really going down the rabbit hole of enjoying those videos, here is one theme that I find often is that the police, while know generally how to operate their job, they are ignorant to the law itself, the black letter. Why? Because it's written in Pig Latin, and you got to have like a sophisticated mind to decipher the Rosetta Stone of what the legalese means. What's funny is in law school, the bottom 20% of my class was cut every semester. That's how they kept it competitive. And so even the last semester. So with this high volume of anxiety, I'm sitting there telling myself, like, what do I do if I fail, right? Like, a significant portion of the class gets cut, and you're sitting there going, what if I'm one that doesn't make it? What do I do after this? And the fact that I can sit back and go, well, if I don't do this, I could be a cop. I wouldn't choose that, but I could be. So you're telling me the standard to fight the law is significantly higher than the standard to be the law.
To be the law. It's crazy.
That is a dangerous reality. And it really shows forth in this video. Now, it may be a couple minutes here, 4 minutes or so, but it is a perfect exclamation of this issue. It is a man walking in Florida, going fishing, and he has a firearm that he's just carrying, open carrying.
Happy New Year. Going fishing right over here.
With weapons like that?
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's
real?
Absolutely.
Those are real?
Absolutely.
Okay, drop your fishing rod.
Hold on. Under Florida State statute.
Just drop your fishing rod.
We're gonna make sure we're safe.
We're gonna make sure we're safe.
We are safe. Hold on. You can't.
I just relax.
Hold on.
We're not saying you can't have them.
Hold on.
There is no open carry law.
There is.
There is no open...
Under Florida statute. Hey, excuse me, sir.
Just relax.
Sir, If you want to look at my backpack right now, there's the Florida statutes in my backpack.
Open carry?
Yeah.
And appreciate the point that this guy just starts rattling off statutes that these officers are totally ignorant to.
There are 15?
Yes, sir.
There is?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I want to see the Florida State law for that.
Hey, can you reach in my bag? Huh?
Not with the small gun.
Small and large. It doesn't matter. While I'm engaged in
Already
fishing, hunting,
detained,
and
already
camping, going
cuffed.
to and from such an event,
Really?
under Florida State Statute 790.25,
Okay.
Section 3, subsection H,
Yeah.
it is completely lawful for me to do this.
To walk on the sidewalk with an
I can walk
carry.
going where I'm going to go fishing. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, with a rifle. with a
Absolutely.
hunting
It doesn't
gun,
matter. Right now, you guys are treating me like a criminal.
No.
Yes, you are.
We're just trying to find out what's going on.
Well, that you can take the. I haven't been aggressive.
Nobody says you have.
All right.
Oh, then what are the cuffs for?
Why not you just
What are the
beat
cuffs for? What are the cuffs for?
You have an armed
safety.
I'm not. I haven't pointed a gun
Not
at
treating
anybody.
him like a criminal,
Then why
putting
am
him
I
in
in
cuffs.
cuffs?
For safety.
Yeah, right? Not treating you like a criminal
Yeah,
already in
you're in
handcuffs.
cuffs, though.
I mean,
Yeah.
here's what I'll say. There is an escalated concern for violence and danger with just an open, like it's not even like a guy with a sloppy hood and you think he has a firearm.
Mhm.
This is like, okay, the reasonable suspicion is clearly box checked. So that's in favor of the police. But I don't want that overshadowing the ignorance to what they are supposed to be enforcing.
Okay. Where do you want to go?
I don't want to walk anywhere. I want to stay in right here.
Okay, all right.
I
So
do
that
not.
just come off.
No, because you
Are
have
they
to.
loaded?
The AR is not. My handgun is.
Okay.
And I do not consent. I am going to go ahead and my first, my
You
second,
have a CCW
my
permit?
fourth, and my fifth.
You have a CCW permit?
I'm not concealing a weapon, even
Okay.
if I was. The statute allows me to carry a.
To open carry.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Or if I want it while I'm fishing, hunting, and camping, I can
carry a firearm, a sidearm?
side and long gun.
Oh,
It
yeah?
doesn't matter.
Okay.
You can carry a hunting gun, but
No,
not
it's a hunting gun.
Okay.
Yeah, but not the pistol.
It doesn't matter.
It
While you're
Okay.
Okay.
we're
We'll
gonna.
double check.
Everybody's gonna learn a
Okay.
good, valuable lesson
So
today.
Okay.
Well, that would be great. We would love to hear that.
Hey,
So
are
we're
you gonna
take off-
apologize? No,
We're gonna
I
take
do
off
not
your
consent.
backpack.
I do not consent to any search or seizures of my property.
Okay, well, you don't really
You-
have that option right now, okay?
Why don't you guys look into the statute before
you
you
said it was
start?
in your backpack, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so
so
want
you
me
can
to
look
get
in.
it,
You can
correct?
look into
So
my
where is
backpack
it?
in the
Which
top
pocket?
top bag,
Top bag? Okay.
top zipper. There's a little pamphlet, and there's also the entire Florida State statutes on the
Okay, I'm gonna
790
leave this
section.
bait stuff, okay? 'Cause it's
Careful, my social security card and stuff is in there.
in that little bag.
And like I said,
Okay.
I am preaching my Fourth Amendment right now.
That's fine.
And you cannot. I'm allowing. Yes.
What's the Fourth Amendment?
Illegal search and seizures.
Okay.
Okay.
Fifth Amendment. That's me talking. My second is my gun,
Right.
and my first is me recording you
Do you have
guys.
an
So
ID in here, sir?
no, I do not.
Just your social security number?
Just look at the Florida statute, and we can go ahead and move forward from
So you
this.
don't have an ID.
I don't know if I have an ID on me.
Okay.
Normally, I don't carry it because I'm not doing anything illegal.
If
No,
you know the statute,
I do.
Florida, you're supposed to carry
You
ID
do not.
always.
If I'm
Yes,
doing
you
some,
do.
if I'm doing something.
Okay, so Silent, I'm not going to exhaust you through all three parts, but I at very least want to transition to the third part. Just catch here how the video kicks off right off the bat. This comment, if it doesn't make your blood boil.
What's the beginning part? What's the beginning part
That's the
say?
end of the
Lawful
sentence.
uses, the provisions of
Yeah.
subset 79.053 and .06. Go to those two
Okay.
statutes, and one's going to be
You're
about.
gonna make me do a lot of work for this.
You guys should know the statute.
So we're gonna put you in the back of my police car. We're gonna take off all your weapons.
Oh my God, I'm doing my job.
You're making me do a
forcing
lot
me
of
to do
work
my
with it.
job. Oh my God.
I am collecting a check again from your pool of money.
You get paid
And
by
you're
the
making me
hour.
do
What are you
work for this.
complaining about? You get paid by the hour. Most cops get paid by the hour. It's like, oh no, you're making me read a statute. Oh my God.
So,
You're
I
getting
mean,
paid.
I don't know. Do you want me to show you the end is them going, all right, yep, we got confirmation, like you're good, and they release him. They let him go. And so when I followed up to see kind of what happened here, guess what I come to find out? Because he was detained but released, nothing came of it. And he's not allowed to sue, and everything was just, a big charade.
because
And
he was
again,
released.
at the end of the
Yep.
day, he wasn't injured, and he was released. But talk about an exhausting plea to do what's naturally, and again, you go to the comments and stuff. Oh, you call yourself the land of the free? Like, at what point that you're balancing again the human flaw with the need for their existence? Because at the same time, if you found yourself hung up with a guy strapped up just like him, and he's asking for your wallet, who are you going to call? Certainly not the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, definitely not.
So how do you reconcile that type of balance?
It's one of those things where because I do a lot of my IRL streams all the time every weekend, I get pressed by people about filming on the sidewalk. A lot of people think that you can't just film on the sidewalk. Newsflash, you can. Even in freaking Canada, right? You're allowed to. And I never understood the logic of, hey, stop filming me. Maybe if you just keep walking, I'll stop filming you. Maybe if you don't shove yourself and put your hands towards my camera, you won't be on my camera. Maybe if you just moved, Have you thought about that? But no, a lot of people usually are drinking on Saturday and they don't think and use their brain even when they're not drinking. So you add alcohol into that? Whew, yeah. Oh, yeah. You can imagine what happens.
And talk about an oxymoron. The person that's like, I don't want to be more involved in your cast. I'm going to make more of a spectacle, so there's more of an incentive to clip.
So there's more for me to be in your video. Exactly. And what baffles my mind is, like you said, it's 2025. The second you step outside of your home, you're being filmed. Your neighbor has a Nest camera. There's a traffic camera on the way to the highway as you exit to make a left turn, get on the highway from your house. After you get off the highway, you stop in a plaza or a strip mall or a mall. There's a camera in the entrance. There's another camera in the beginning on the front of the business. There's a camera in the middle of the business, camera in the back of the business. You don't care about any of those. But the second it's me pointing a phone at you or at myself even, not even at you, just at myself, oh no, all hell breaks loose and we're going to have a problem. I just never understood that logic, And another thing, too, that I noticed before the thing that happened in 2020 that shut everybody down, I remember video calls being a very socially awkward thing that nobody did and nobody liked and nobody hated. But after that, all of a sudden, everybody's kind of okay with being on video call or being on FaceTime or, doing a call on FaceTime. And I remember watching that shift. And I was like, wow, finally. Oh, my God, I've been using video calls since the AOL and MSN days. Where have you guys been, And I remember like thinking, I'm like, oh, man, finally it's clicked. Now maybe people will be less, likely to make such a big fuss about people that hold a camera and walk. And even yesterday, by the way, when I was in downtown, I heard so many people like whispering, oh, my God, he's vlogging. Oh, my God, I don't want to be in his vlog. Oh, my God. Or like, are you filming? Oh, my God, are you live? Oh, my God, don't film me. Oh, my God, don't clip that. Oh, my God, don't film me. Oh, my God, can you edit that out? It's like, no, I'm live. I can't edit nothing out. You came up to my camera and you said it. I can't edit nothing out. It's live. You chose to move in the direction. You saw me holding my camera and you voluntarily chose to stay on the path of the sidewalk and start talking to me in the camera. And then you want me to cut it out? Yeah, good luck.
One, the people can be just ridiculous. I want to further emphasize, I love your point where it comes to, we want to have the ability to open up, break the monopoly, open it up to a free market and hold people accountable. But then we have the reality of these people's flaws. And it's the public's ignorance. It's the system's ignorance. And thank goodness for the people that know where those lines start and end and are pushing back to hold them accountable. Again, why I think those audits are so fun, because similar 100%. To your experience with these people on your lives, these people run up, they block the camera, they scream, they put a whole fuss, they call the police, and the police literally look at them and go, no, they're allowed to do that. When you are in public, there is no assumption of privacy. Like, you have walked into the public. And so again, if you don't want to be found in that predicament, you don't go out into the public. That's the reason an entire industry like the paparazzi can exist.
Exactly.
There is a whole industry of getting a picture of Taylor Swift wherever she's at. So guess what? It makes it harder for her to just go to Walgreens. But I guess that's the other side of the beauty of being worth $1 quadrillion. You don't have to go to Walgreens.
That's the price
you
to
can
pay
someone
exactly.
to, or exactly.
Like, that's the price of it, right? And people don't realize that. It's like, I remember this huge when Iggy Azalea first got signed and she was blowing up.
Oh yeah.
You remember that viral video of the paparazzi following her at Walgreens or like at some store? She's like, leave me alone, you creeper. He's like, you're rich. He's like, if you don't want me to follow you, hire security. And I started laughing. I'm like, he's right, though. I'm like, he's right. She's in public. He could technically film her in a parking lot or on the sidewalk. It's not against the law. The guy's not breaking the rules or being creepy or doing anything. If you don't like it, hire security, you know, and have them shoo off the paparazzi or whatever, you know?
Exactly.
If you feel like you're threatened by some dude who's holding a camera, it's like, how is that even a threat? Have you even actually had real threats in your life that you find it intimidating that some dude with a professional camera or a cell phone camera in some case, or even just a big video camera is threatening to you because he's documenting you walking, you, a public person who puts out content to the public consistently and relies on the public image and the public person to make their money. Oh, all of a sudden you're offended?
Oh, yeah.
You signed up for this. Guess what? You could have been invisible. You could have been rich and invisible with ease, especially since you're from Australia. You could have just never stepped foot in the US. You know, you could have never came to LA where all the content creators and the paparazzi are at and just stayed at home and just not had to worry about any of it if it's that much bothersome to you.
Well, and again, that's the natural hypocrisy that seems to be found throughout our whole dialogue so far. No matter what position, career, or life you've chosen, it seems to be kind of the instinct of humans. But before we flush out that natural characteristic of the human experience, I do want to get a little side tangent here. I just want to pick your brain on these lives. All right. You're experiencing people that are probably not so favorable, some wild experiences, but again, that just makes great content. And at the same time, I'm sure you've met some people that like are great, dialogues and
fantastic,
perfect, exactly. So, as somebody that is blossoming in this space now, right? Like you've crawled through the trenches, you've done the work, you've put in the time. You're not just somebody that's picking up a camera and starting it today. With somebody that kind of crawled that path and is starting to get to the other side. What has that been like? Balance, the good experiences versus the bad. Do you have some stories that stand out to you? Like what has that been for you?
Honestly, it's been quite a roller coaster because I started streaming almost a year ago. It's been 10 months now of just being live every single day. When I was unemployed before I got my job again in September, because I was unemployed from April to September, so that was quite a while. I was doing IRL streams every single day pretty much, and a combination of the desktop stream as well too, the podcast with you guys, and just Discord calls, doing reactions, edits, gaming, etc., etc., etc. And if you had told me a year ago that everything that has happened to me so far in the last 10 months, did you expect any of it to happen and so quickly? My answer would have been absolutely not. Like never in a million years, I would expect that things move this fast on the internet. But then again, as someone who's been on the internet since they were like 5, I really probably should have expected this, but I just didn't expect the speed at which things move. Because when you become a content creator / live streamer, it's a whole other ball game. It really is, because things move really fast in this sphere, right? Like things move really, really fast. There's always like content that's trending and then it stops trending. And then there's the kind of people and, specific niche content that trends and then all of a sudden it doesn't. And yeah, to say like, I've met such interesting characters, like from other content creators to other like Instagram creators, YouTubers, other live streamers. And you just kind of meet people from all walks of life when you're just put yourself out there and you're out and about and walking around the city for 5 to 10 hours every single weekend, or in some cases every single day when I was unemployed. And you're just bound to run into people that like, want to steal your phone or want to run your pockets or want to press you and like give you shit for dressing a certain way or look in a certain way or speak in a certain way, or like, oh, you're in this neighborhood, you're not supposed to be here, why are you here? And You're going to get a lot of that. And honestly, I will never forget my first few live streams. I was in a very dangerous area. And by the way, I had no clue that this area was dangerous. Zero. Never been here before. And I was talking to this homeless guy. He was clearly a crackhead. He was on, all sorts of, things. And the guy was just tweaking out. And I'll never forget, like, there was like 3 or 4 people in my chat telling me, hey, Silent, you need to get out of here. This guy's crazy. Like, he's probably about to stab you. All that stuff, blah, blah. And I was just having a conversation with the guy. We're just talking. And I remember, continuing. After the guy finished his conversation, he walked away, I walked away. And I remember continuing. I remember thinking in my brain, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly how people perceive a city as dangerous. They think that because A, I'm in a dangerous area, and that B, I'm talking to a drug addict who's homeless, that C, I'm going to get stabbed, because usually that's how it goes, right? But then you start to realize that the reality is actually different, because you start to notice that when you are in dangerous neighborhoods, if you yourself are not being dangerous, if you are not being provoking, if you are just talking to people, 9 times out of 10, nobody's going to tell you anything. Nobody's going to stab you. Nobody's going to rob you. And that those areas are only as dangerous as the people tell you they are dangerous. Because like I said, before I read my chat, I was clueless. I was like, oh, this is a dangerous area? I'm just walking in the city talking to people, you know? And I remember my brain, like something clicked in my brain and it shifted. It shifted really nicely. And I'm just like, wow, so this is how people perceive neighborhoods. Someone just tells them it's dangerous, so they never go. What in reality is, if you go there and you're harmless and you just talk to people and you're not being a piece of shit, or you're being a malice, or you're being a ruckus or a menace or whatever, 9 times out of 10, that crackhead's probably not going to stab you or steal you or run your pockets if you just talk. Now, did I get lucky? Maybe there was another one waiting for me right around the corner to, like hit me in the head and take my phone and run my pockets and all that. But my point is, streaming has taught me that when you just put yourself out there, even in the most dangerous areas of your city, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be fine, because those areas are only as dangerous as the actions in which you bring to those areas. And that's something that I had to it took me a while to click, but when it clicked, I was like, this is actually how the world operates. Because the reality is, I can tell you that street is dangerous. The cops can tell me that street's dangerous. The entire neighborhood can tell me that street's dangerous. But unless I go there myself and with my own eyes and with my own mouth talk to people and see and do, then I will never truly understand that area or that street or that block or that building. I will only understand what's being told to me about this area.
Well, that's a great point. You could get knowledge by reading books and everything else, but you don't get pure knowledge, the capital K, without actually experiencing it, right? Like, I know I'm on a ball in space based on all of the circumstances of my reality, but I will never know the capital K unless I'm like in a spaceship looking at a ball.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. I do want to press a point though, just a little bit. And it is I imagine you got very lucky with a great experience, and cheers to you for that. But if the crux of your position is going to be 9 times out of 10, I'm also willing to bet you are not jumping at the chance at doing 10 live streams in this dangerous neighborhood.
Yeah. And by the way, I did all this coincidentally. A lot of times I ended up in those bad neighborhoods, had no idea those neighborhoods were bad.
And that is a common experience.
Right. And the thing is, like, there's a lot of people in my chat that always want me to go to those neighborhoods. You know why? Because they're waiting until that,
For some shit to
one
happen.
time out of 10, that one crackhead is gonna come and just boop
I
me on the
believe
head
it's
and
more
just,
than one.
it's gonna
That's
happen.
why I don't
It's
think you're
it's
willing to
gonna
go
happen.
10 times.
Yeah.
I want to say, if the bridge to your point, the beautiful crescendo to it all is, if the cops tell you it's bad, if your neighbor tells you it's bad, if Bob tells you it's bad, but you go and experience it, that's how you know. I gotta just push back a little bit that it is not just,
Right.
a bunch of people with a microphone, narratives, newspapers telling you it's bad. It's actual statistics. Like, the analytics of the numbers tell you, like, people lost their wallet, had a black eye, actually did get stabbed by the crackhead. Those were the real experiences, and it's much less what the people are telling you. And it's statistics, like, if out of 1,000 experiences, 888 of them are being stabbed in Philadelphia, and you were just like, oh my God, I wandered down this one crazy neighborhood and was totally safe. Like, the one time, so I went to law school in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Crazy that is the capital of Pennsylvania, because it is a trash bin, like totally unsafe. It is like a heroin needle. It's like a city on a heroin needle, but it is a city, and hey, they operate. But because I was so close to Philadelphia, the year that the Philadelphia Eagles played the Patriots in the Super Bowl and won, a friend of mine convinced me to go. And dude, the videos, I wish I had them queued up and we could do them today, because the videos
Kensington
were
Market? You talking about
insane.
Kensington Market?
What? Oh yeah, we'll mark it.
What is it? Was it Kensington? What is it called? That one street in Philadelphia?
Oh, see, I can't remember. But so even that being
But I know what
case,
you're talking about. Yeah.
So I had a friend who went to Temple University. So he had friends that were in college still there. And he was like, we could stay at my buddy's apartment. So he pulls up to his buddy's apartment and he's like, hey, can I leave my car here, or should I like go to a parking garage? And his buddy was like, you really should probably go to a parking, or you could park right here. You're going to be totally fine. He's like, you sure? Like, I think I'm going to get crushed. And he's like, no, you're fine. The big party is going to be like the main street 1 or 2 over. So it's not even going to make it over here. When the day was over, and again, I get that they won a Super Bowl, but when I'm telling you, I was watching people just walking through the streets with the light posts, and, like, there goes, a traffic light, and people climbing everything you could imagine. I'm looking at these girls that were carrying a stop sign through the center of the street, and I'm like, they did not even know who was playing last week. And yet
they're just
here they are
and participating in the shenanigans. Yeah.
Right? Couldn't be more excited. I was watching people in Patriots jerseys. This is why I bring up that story. Just get assaulted like crazy. And I had numerous experiences where I was in my brown stuff and they were wanting to just totally wallop me. And I had people come up to me and go, I would beat your ass, but you literally did not win a game this season. So that's how I know you're either trolling people or you actually mean it, at which point that is terrible in and of it. Like, that's a punch in its face for itself. So that they left me be. But it was crazy, dude. And thank God my buddy didn't park where he did, because the cars literally looked like elephants walked over them.
Yeah.
I literally watched this guy get in his car. It's like 3 a.m. and he is like, the ceiling totally flattened. He is hanging out the driver window. It's like, dude, you're done. You should have just leave it. Why are you
just leave it? Yeah, that's a safety hazard at that point.
Yeah, it was crazy. So again, I get that it was a Super Bowl night, but when these cities have real statistics, like the person actually was beaten, or the gun violence in Chicago is that bad. I went to Chicago. I've probably found myself on a bird going down the wrong street, but I didn't stop, or I was talking to the lucky people like they weren't dangerous. But that doesn't stop that there is actually gang violence in that location.
100%.
So I can appreciate the takeaway, the theme of your point, but then also grounding it with, like, that isn't just a narrative that people are creating. There's analytics.
Like I said, and I did say that while making my point, by the way. Just so you guys know, I got extremely lucky that I didn't get hurt when I was in those areas, because you probably will get hurt eventually if you, like you said, if you keep going there, right? If you keep going there and kind of like poking the bee's nest and, you know, looking around in areas you're not supposed to. All it takes is that one dude, right? That's like, hey, you're not from here. Wait a minute. Give me your cell phone right now, you know? And, you know, at the end of the day, as a content creator, the whole point of that kind of content is you need to push yourself out of your comfort zone, because obviously sitting, especially this is specifically for streamers too, sitting at home and playing video games used to work 5-10 years ago, but guess what? Now it's way too saturated. There's a lot of people sitting at home playing video games and live streaming. So in order to stand out, there's like dues. There's certain dues you have to pay, right? There's certain experiences you have to go through, like, you know, being robbed by a crackhead, or getting your phone robbed while you're doing IRL, or, you know, getting stabbed, or getting pressed, or getting the cops called on you, or getting someone calling a restaurant while you're eating at it, or a whole bunch of dues that you have to pay. And I truly believe that if you survive all of those things and you make it through a better person out of all of those experiences, I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel for you as a streamer. And I truly do believe that. I believe that if you want to move on to greater things, you unfortunately have to step out of your comfort zone and just deal with uncomfortable situations. Because guess what? As a streamer in 2025, you staying in your comfort zone, that is, you know, just being on the desktop and streaming desktop stream, chances of you making it are way less likely nowadays.
Sure.
I hate to say it.
Well, and while I needed to at least balance your point with that little critique, I do appreciate the major takeaway, which is you really get to meet some great people and have some great experiences when you put yourself out there. And, you know,
and I could talk about that for hours, by the way, like the amount of great creators that I've met. Like we could sit here and talk about that for hours. But yeah.
Well, and again, I think we both could really flush that out in and of itself just through personal experience. But the one that could define them all is me logging into the Monkey app to create some side segments for fun, having a great conversation with you, and now you are seamlessly a fabric of one of our major shows across the different channels.
Yeah.
And so here's someone that I've gotten to know on a deeper level, someone that's from a totally different walk of life, but I can totally appreciate, and again, in more ways than not, and that's the beauty of long form content. These aren't 2-minute sound bites, and being able to flush out deep conversations. You can look at somebody that's just a totally different world and go, we are so similar in so many ways. We have more in common than we don't. And that's the beauty of these experiences. And having a relationship like this defines that.
100%. And that's a big reason I love streaming, is because streaming is so raw. I can't edit myself when I stream. Like what you see is what you get. You will see me fail. You will see me have shitty angles. You'll see me have shitty audio. You will see me have a shitty stream. Like it's raw, it's uncut. But you know, the nice thing is if you stick around long enough, because I'm live every single day, you'll see me just get a little bit better every single day until eventually
compounding interest,
until eventually after a year or two, you're like, wait a minute, this guy's actually good. He's become really good at this. This is entertaining. I want to watch this. And that's why I love streaming. It's because the real ones, the people that have been here in my stream since day one until today, and maybe until like the next 5 years or 10 years, they're going to get to see that. They're going to see like, yeah, I remember when Silent used to live stream and his mic sucked. But now he has a professional 600 level wireless mic and he has security walking with him, or he has this person walking with him and that person walking with him. And he has a producer and a content creator and a camera guy and a camera girl and blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's why I really, really like live stream. It's because you not only get to see it every day, you get to see it over long form, like you said. And I think because long form is one of those forms of content creation where if you're a bitch, we're gonna know you're a bitch. If you are a piece of shit, we're gonna know you're a piece of shit.
That's right.
If you're actually a good person that genuinely wants to improve society and this earth, we're gonna know that too. And that's the nice thing that I really like made me kind of fall in love with live streaming, is because it allows me to just like, okay, I'm gonna turn on the camera and we're gonna create some good content, you know, because the YouTubes and the social medias of content, you know, there's I think a lot of people like see a certain side of you, but then you're actually a whole other person. You know what I mean? And I personally don't like that. Like, I don't like to act up or go into character for the content and then go off a character outside the content. And then when people meet me in real life, they're like, wait a minute. Hey, you're not like the person you really say you are. Kind of like, remember that story you told me when you met LeBron? Like, LeBron seems like such a cool person. But then when you realize, oh my God, LeBron is just an actor. He's actually a piece of shit, you know? You're like, oh my God, you know? And it's kind of like disappointing when that bubble bursts. But with, like, for me, at least, you know, I feel that way. And I'm sure my chat will call me out on it. What you see in the stream is what you'll get in real life. This is all me, baby. Raw and uncut.
Because here's the thing. Like, look at all these people, you know, we're not going to get down the road of tinfoil hat stuff. But when Barack Obama is having rumors of, you know, is something going on with him and his wife? Are they getting a divorce? Is Jennifer Aniston the side
Jennifer Aniston?
Or are they just using another Illuminati figure to cover up that the fact that he's gay and was probably sleeping with a chef that his wife killed? Who knows? Anyway, the whole crazy, Dan, who knows? But
who knows?
It's who these people sell us as who they are versus their background. Look at Ellen. Ellen had to go buy a castle and leave the country because it all unraveled. You know, you hear people talk about their experience in the industry and they're like, yeah, we've always heard she was a terrible person. And it turns out she was a terrible person. It's almost like wearing the mask. You can always pick these people out because they're the most self-righteous. Like, I'm here being vulnerable, heart open to you all, and that's how you're going to see my flaws. Because they exist. And the pretending they don't, like Ryan Reynolds, to come to find out, you know, there's this huge major lawsuit with Ryan Reynolds' wife and some dude she had a movie with. And now it's all coming to the surface. It was like, oh, it was all Ryan Reynolds' fault. And he's like Mr. Goody Two-Shoes, and they've got this perfect relationship, and everything's crazy. All that being said, if you just are you, that is pretty much the safest play you could have.
100%.
There's nothing for you to discover. Like, let's just say in 5 years, get a significantly larger platform, which also comes around with a larger number of enemies that are looking through everything I said for that one clip that they could kill me with. If and when you find that, one, and this is what I'm putting all my chips on. All my chips are on red. I am convinced that when that moment happens, it's probably a bad idea. And the beauty of wrestling and fighting ideas is I won because I'm coming with the virtue and openness of being wrong, that I will probably abandon the bad ideas through the pursuit of wrestling the good ones, because that's kind of how a free marketplace of ideas works. You truly wrestle them out and the better ideas rise to the surface. So I'm going to put my chips on red, believing that when that day finally comes, it's probably an old idea, an idea that I've abandoned. But even if it isn't, one, that means I'd be even stronger positioned to defend it, because that means it's something I truly believe. And through the sake of liberate me from my ignorance, baby, if I'm wrong, then I'll abandon the bad idea and move on with my good one. So I think if you are always just open with your flaws and your virtues, you never have to worry about that tabloid moment when they're like, he was sleeping with who and it did what? And Ellen DeGeneres was never nice. It's like that never happens.
Exactly. 100%. And think how freeing that is. It's like, hey, what's up, guys? I'm a piece of shit. You like pieces of shit? Subscribe to my content. Think how much better that would feel. Just say it. Just come on, say it, dude. Own it. Embrace who you are. If you're a nice guy, be a nice guy. If you're a piece of shit, be a piece of shit. If you're a guy that likes to sleep around, say it. Just be honest.
Because you definitely don't want them to discover it.
Right. People love honesty. And guess what? When you're honest, they can't use your honesty against you, because guess what? You're already on record saying you did it. You're already on record saying you're a nice guy. You're already on record saying you love to sleep with married women that are A-list Hollywood celebrities. People are like, oh yeah, he said that. Oh yeah, remember that episode like 2 years ago? He said he's trying to get Jen Aniston and he's trying to break her back and trying to catch her, give her a good time. He already said that. He's just doing what he said,
Right. So again, it's a liberating experience, but it's also a humbling experience, because while I think, through your reflection of your personal experience on Kick and live streaming and becoming a content creator and having a platform with an audience, but when you reflect, you believed, hey, it's moving a lot quicker than you expected because of 100%. The internet. And I want to say, that's because I think you're a humble man, because it's not like you're making millions of dollars off this thing yet. And you have, it's just progress, compounding interest. Today dominates yesterday. And I've walked such a long path that today also dominates 2 years ago or a year ago. But at the same time, dude, we are not experiencing growth at that magnitude. And it's because it is a humbling experience to be real, vulnerable. It's an unsafe move.
Takes time.
The safe move is to cover yourself, mask yourself, and be who the market wants or calls 100%. For or claims to be. And
you'll get there faster. That's true. No doubt about that.
It's a damning route to take, because it's kind of like it's sweeter, it's faster, but it's the poison. And that you may not see the side effect of that poison, or even anywhere sooner than you thought. It may take a year, it may take 10 years, but it will catch up to you. 100%. Whereas take the slow burn, take the real burn. I mean, one of the things I wanted to bring up back when you were talking about how just the experience of the internet and that growth, it really isn't to the degree we'd like it to be, but it is significant. And when you make it real, like these are real people, it's not bots. I didn't go to some Instagram account and buy 10,000 followers. When you have that, you really have a true evaluation of what you're doing. Me 100%. And you could sit here for hours and hours, say compounding
with ease.
I did a little bit better than yesterday. And I like when all my people get to look at my content and go, I remember the shitty mic, and I remember when the editing was bad and all that. At the same time, though, if you actually aren't progressing, you will actually not see that in the numbers. Like the numbers are a pure tie to your talent, to your skill. Whereas I think some of these people that are propped up by a mechanism or a system, or just propped up by the fact that they're fake, they truly get an inaccurate perception of their abilities and their talent. And then they get to live in this world of delusion, which also then bites them in the butt and is inevitably going to catch up to them.
Absolutely. For sure. Numbers don't lie, right? Like the numbers speak. When the numbers tell you and show you is your market validation. This is a free market. Social media is actually a truly free market, because guess what? If the people fuck with you, they're going to come back and watch you. But if they don't, they're not going to. That's why, like you said, like the way I see it is I'd rather be myself and it take me like 2 to 5 years, 10 years, however long it takes, to become an overnight success. But I'm being me, then, oh, hi, guys, I'm putting on 10,000 masks today. I'm going to pretend like I like to do these things just because I know it's actually the people like to watch these things. And I'm doing them only because the people like to watch these things,
Exactly.
Like when I started streaming, I'm sober 2 years. I don't smoke weed. I don't drink alcohol. And I told myself, like, no talking to women in a rizful sexual manner until I achieve my goals. And I still have people yesterday telling me, hey, Silent, go as that girl, because that's what they want to see. But no, I tell them, I'm like, if you want to see someone risen up girls, this ain't the channel. This is not the channel to see it. There's 10 million other channels doing it. This is not me right now. Me right now, I'm locked in. I'm out here creating the content I want to create. I don't want to do bar degen stuff. I don't drink anymore. Like if you caught me in my 20s when I was live streaming, you would have seen the best bar tent streams of your life. You would have. But that era is over for me, you know? And now this me, I'm being the best version of myself. He doesn't drink anymore. He doesn't talk to women because he's not financially there, because he's not himself there, you know? Because I wasted my 20s, and this is like, I'm going to give some good advice to people in their 20s. If you're in your 20s, don't waste your time with a lot of females. They're just going to drain you and suck you dry and slow down your progress. Get fit, get in the best shape of your life physically and mentally as you can. Get financially fit too. Get financially free, take care of your bills, make sure that the income that you have coming in and your expenses are less than your income. Make sure you have enough left over to save. Trust me, I know I sound like a boomer right now, but trust me, when you're in your 30s and 40s, you're going to be thankful. You're going to be like, damn, I did good. I'm so glad that I delayed the gratification and I waited, you know, because when I was in my 20s, I burnt it all. I really did. I wasted my time, my money, my health, my physical, my mental, all of it down the drain. Almost a decade of my life, from 20 to 28, because I turned sober when I was 28. I'm 30 now. And that's probably one of my biggest regrets. But at the same time, I learned a lot. It's a good teaching experience. The way I see it is, I regret it, but at the same time, I don't really regret it, because in life, there's a lot of lessons that you only learn when you just go out there and make the mistake and do the thing. But my advice to you is focus as much as you can on being the best version of yourself every day. And we're going to say it again, the compound interest. Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world, as they call it. It's the 8th wonder of the world. Use it to your advantage. Be a little bit better every single day. And then in 2-3 years, you're going to be like, oh, wow, I'm really glad I started working on myself, because 2 years ago, I would have never done that. Now I'm doing that with ease. I'm not even thinking about it. It's just subconscious.
Seriously. I love that. So while I appreciate being able to really flush out that road, because the live experience is a whole diatribe in and of itself, and I was glad we were able to get a little bit of it, a flavor of it. Mm-hmm. I want to bring us back to the consideration of that balance of law and order, and what you would truly want to theorize a utopian system to look like. And I know we can't actually reach that perfection, but trying to have the goal of getting there as close as possible. One of the things that we're always going to wrestle with, and this is kind of where we left off the conversation, the flaw to the human characteristic, right? So when they fail, the anarchists like Michael Malice suggests that, well, if they're private, then you can hold them accountable. This is what kind of provoked this conversation in my mind for me in Silent, was because he made this proclamation to Jordan Peterson that if we had a private sector that competed against itself, when they failed to do what was called upon them, like he gave instances of like COVID, when the police overstepped, or when people needed the police but they were told to stand down and they did, you could hold them accountable. We had a private contract. You would bring safety when you didn't, or whatever. But then as he was he almost had me. He almost had me there. It was just sounding juicy, and I'm walking down the road and I'm like, this sounds like something I could work with. Then you think about this. If you just said to me, I could hold the private police force accountable by like lawsuit or something because they didn't hold up their end of the bargain, Mr. Anarchy World, Mad Max, but organized with silverware, how do you hold them accountable without a court of law? Like you just said, well, I'll sue their ass, or I'll hold them accountable. How? Is your cannon bigger than theirs? Because that's the only way it happens in the anarchy world. So it's like, you almost had me. And that's the beauty of like theorizing with these anarchists, is because there's a lot of juicy virtues in wrestling these ideas, but they are bottomless. They are a sieve. They cannot contain reality. Now, binding us to reality, and something I want to just get your thoughts on, Silent, as we kind of maybe come to a conclusion, but I think this will be one to truly make it difficult to do so. Let me bring you in here. Are you familiar with the Milgram experiment?
No, what's that?
So, the Milgram experiment is how the nature of humans, like, you wonder, how does something like the Holocaust happen? How do these atrocities happen? And it's how easy man will succumb to authority simply because it's coming from an authority. And so you ask, like, how did a German citizen turn its barrel on its neighbors? Like, that's a person. Or slavery, or all these different types of, like, human atrocities. How? And it is a animalistic thread to our human mind. The Milgram experiment shows this the best.
A decade earlier, psychologist Stanley Milgram had also looked at how we respond to authority. In order to understand how people were induced to obey unjust regimes and participate in atrocities such as the Holocaust, he set up an experiment. Volunteers were told they were taking part in scientific research to improve memory.
Would you open those and tell me which of you is which, please? Teacher. Where? Teacher.
Separated by a screen, the teacher would ask the learner questions in a word game and administer an electric shock when the answer was incorrect. He was told to increase the voltage with each wrong answer.
Cloud, horse, rock, house. Answer. Wrong. 150 volts. Answer, horse.
Oh. Experiment, that's all. Get me out of here. Get me out of here, please.
Continue, please. Go right on.
I refuse to go on. Let me out.
Refuses to go on. The experiment requires you continue, teacher. Please continue.
Participants didn't know that the learner was really an actor and the so-called shocks harmless.
You're gonna get a shock. 180 volts.
Oh. I can't stand the pain. Let me out of here.
Can't stand it. I'm not gonna kill that man, eh? I mean, who's gonna take the responsibility if anything happens to that gentleman? I'm responsible for anything that happens here. Continue, please. All right, next one. Slow. Walk, dance, truck, music.
Two-thirds of volunteers were prepared to administer a potentially fatal electric shock when encouraged to do so by what they perceived as a legitimate authority figure. In this case, a man in a white coat.
375 volts. I think something's happened to that fellow in there. I don't get no answer. He was hollering for less voltage. Can't you check in and see if he's all right, please?
Milgram's findings horrified America. They showed that decent American citizens were as capable of committing acts against their conscience as the Germans had been under the Nazis.
100%.
Unbelievable.
No surprise. I've never seen this experiment before, but I think we talked about something like this in psychology class in university, and yeah, it's honestly it's not surprising. Like, you could see that guy wanted to walk away. He could have just walked away, but he's like, wait a minute. The guy in the coat said he's gonna be responsible, not me. Press his button.
and Silent. Let's really reflect on what compelled it. There was no financial incentive.
No, exactly.
Like, it's
nothing.
Not like you were going to be fined or you were getting paid $100,000. Like, maybe it's a little easier to put your moral compass on the back burner for a significant cut of cash. Even if there was like compensation for being in an experiment, we're talking a couple $100 at most. So you're telling me you couldn't walk away from a couple $100 on the off chance you might be killing somebody, or at very least severely harming them. I mean, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's honestly nuts, because if you think about it, like, that guy, he stood up and he's like, "No, I'm done." He could have very easily just like, "Yo, you guys are crazy, I'm out," and just walked away, you know. But I think that's a lot to do with like the society that we grew up in, you know. And I would say a lot of that conditioning happens in school, you know, where like your teacher tells you, hey, listen, don't move. You can't move. Like, what? Teacher? You can't block my freedom of movement. I can literally just stand up and move out of the class. Just because you are telling me to sit here, you know, and not move doesn't mean I can't not move. I can literally do whatever I want. I'm just listening because I respect your authority. Right?
Wow.
And I think I'm tying that to this, right?
No, I love it.
This guy right now, like I said, he stood up. He almost left. He was so close. But yet all that instinct probably from school just kicked in. And he's like, no, he's like, I'll get in trouble. He's like, I'll get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble. The last time I got in trouble, my dad whooped my ass. No, I'm going to press the button here because this authoritative man is telling me to press the button. And that's what you're seeing here, I think. A lot of this is that authoritative sort of brainwashing that happens in school, right? That a lot of people as adults are not able to break free from it, right? And when you think about like the Nazis, right? And about like Europe and how a lot of these people that were receiving orders that were like, hey, burn this village. Hey, like shoot this guy, kill this grandma, get rid of these guys. They could have all easily just been like, nah, I'm out. Peace. Here's the rifle. Here's your uniform. See ya. You saw it in Syria. You saw what happened in Syria. A lot of them were like, yo, our commander-in-chief ran away. Take off the uniforms, guys. We're out of here. You know, you saw some guys that were like, okay, we're done, you know. And I think, again, it all goes back to a lot of this kind of like bending the knee to authority is because of the school system. I really, truly believe that. Like this guy, that's what I saw there. Like, because he was so close. He stood up. He's like, nah. He's like, I'm not doing this anymore. He's like, no. He's like, I'm responsible. He's like, I'm responsible. He's like, sit down, press the button. And you can see that like kind of school programming just kicked in as soon as the guy said that. Because I'm sitting here the whole time watching and trying to think, I'm like, what made this guy sit down and press that button again? I was like, it must be the school. I was like, it must be that school programming. He must have had that authoritative teacher that like, you know, told him to sit down and continue his work. Otherwise he would get a call to his dad. And then it happened once and his dad beat his ass. And now it's like his brain is like in panic mode. Like, no, we don't want to get beat. Press the button right now. You know?
What I love about like just getting to see inside your mind is and have these types of conversations when we have the proclamation that we're having a conversation about law and order and what that system should look like. And I bring in a consideration like the Milgram experiment. The route I naturally want to take it is like considering that officers are people too, and officers will be that person that gets told to do something against like the law that they're being told to enforce goes against their internal moral compass. Like, I don't know, arresting people for not wearing a mask or being out and, you know, outside of curfew hours. How do you get an officer to do that? That's where my brain naturally goes. I honestly, while kind of building the skeleton of where we may go today, I didn't even consider school. And that's the beauty of having these conversations, because you really need to balance this whole conversation with how we have a whole system that because again, there are so many more virtues from, like, I would throw my kids into school. Like, I understand why it was created. Here is a system created to pound out your creativity and make drones. We want workers, not thinkers, not liberators, not creators, but doers. You do. And yeah, there may be evolution within that space, but you've snuffed out creativity because you fear the competition and the backlash of free thought. So I appreciate how important school is, its consideration is to this dialogue, because I wouldn't want a world without it. But you need, like, for everything you bring into your life, whether it be your diet, your lifestyle, your friends, you must know the limits. Like, I've stopped being hurt by friends that like ditch me, or, you know, they didn't show up, or they didn't call back. Like, know where, or, you know, they owe me money and they never pay me back. Like, then just don't loan them money again.
Yeah,
Like
lessons learned in life.
It's
That's a
better
hard
to have
lesson
more
to learn.
friends than enemies. You don't need to make an enemy of them, but you also don't need to open up your vulnerability to make them the most like pivotal piece to your life. Like everybody should be on a spectrum, know where they should be on it. How important should they be to you should be based on how much value they give. And I don't mean like on a literal sense, looking at people like a psychopath, but I mean, if they are kind of cancerous, but mean you no harm, then just don't make them a central piece to your life. So I look at something like school and it's like, know your enemy, know where it gives you value and where it becomes a problem. The beauty of COVID was having a world where now all the parents have this secret space in their living room and they go, wait, you're saying what to my kid? And the world changed real quick because it was murmurs. You wouldn't believe what they're doing there. And it wasn't until they actually saw, they're like, oh my God, turn that off. We have more people being homeschooled now than ever before. I also think I might be open to that.
Me too. I'm totally open to homeschooling my kids too.
I'm totally open to it. But you are working your ass off to create a lifestyle that would make that more feasible. Exactly. I need to die on the hill for my dad's sake that my mom and my dad really didn't have a life that would have made that possible. And would it have been possible? Sure. But would, for parents that raised a doctor and a lawyer, would I sit here and go, they would have been as successful in 1999 with doing it homeschool? I don't think so. I got to work extra hard to be Jamie Foxx and have, this lifestyle that I could afford for that. I mean, look at the Boom kids. Boom, the Costco guys. That little Justice kid, he keeps talking about how, they're homeschooled. Well, no, me and my sister go to a special school. We go to school, but it's just a school of two. It's like, no, kid, you're homeschooled.
You're homeschooled. Yeah.
You could homeschool a kid and ruin them. You can homeschool a kid and truly, truly succeed. I think today there's more opportunities, with sport programs and clubs that the communities put on, that you could still get the socialization that your kids need and still not need to be on the tit of the propaganda machine.
100%.
So there's a good balance there that I think is now more possible than ever before. Finances are huge.
Massive.
But I wouldn't throw away the system. I think the system needs a lot of repairing, but I think there's I'm a symptom of the public school system. I wouldn't say I'm an utter failure. I'm a functioning member of, whether you like me or not, or my life, I am a tax-paying citizen. So I'm contributing. And I'm not committing crime. So I'm pulling my fair share, and that's really all you can ask of people. So looking at school, I love that you bring it up. It's an important piece to this whole conversation. However, I do want to take it down the other lane now, where I ask, knowing the Milgram experiment is real and its effect on, or what it says about the human character, what do we do in how do we create a system where, who are you going to call, where the Ghostbusters you be calling, the cops, they end up being also victim to the Milgram experiment, just as susceptible to authority, easily able to blind themselves to maybe the violation in their moral compass for the sake of preservation, safety, success, financial backing, whatever. But what do we do when the system we need, the only entity we could insert there are also able to succumb to the human element, therefore the Milgram experiment?
Yeah. I think honestly the biggest thing, especially when it comes to law and order and authority, is if you hold your officers of the law, the people that enforce the law, if you hold them accountable, I think that's the most important thing in modern day today. Think of like the cameras, right? The body cameras.
Yes.
Think of once they put the body cameras on the police, how much less incidents we have had with like, oh, he said, she said, oh, there's no more of that. It's on video now. It's all on video. You pulled them over and you were a piece of shit. And the judge said, oh, you were being unreasonable. You had no reasonable doubt. You were literally just driving. You thought he was speeding just because you got jealous of his car and you followed him. Case dismissed. You have no case. You know, you're seeing a lot of that now. Like I'm seeing a lot of clips and like videos go viral on YouTube and on Twitter and on other social media platforms. And what this tells me is that the system we currently have is obviously extremely flawed. But let's look at the easier solutions that are very obvious, that it blows my mind that how we have not implemented those solutions. If we make the bar much higher to become a police officer, right? That will weed out a lot of pieces of shit, a lot that are in the force, right? And after that, once you are in, think of if you are being audited every quarter. There's one person who their job is to audit you. Listen, Officer Gary, yeah, the way you interacted with that lady, yeah, that's not good. You need to fix that. The next time you interact with another lady and she's having a problem like that, do this, that. I think these sort of transparency audits where they can be, just like the dash cam footage, available to the public so everyone can see, and where you can watch the officer, who should be, by the way, part of the community, should be someone that you know locally.
Yeah, great point.
Stop this whole, this guy's from New York, but we're going to bring him to Seattle to become a police officer because he was a piece of shit in New York. There's a lot of that going on, by the way. Like, no, let's just get Bob here down the street who lives on Main Street, you know, and he wants to be part of the community because he wants to protect and serve, because this is his home. This is his city. This is his hood. This is his street. He grew up here. So he knows John and he knows Gary and Karen and everybody in the neighborhood. So when he actually wants to protect and serve, he's actually protecting and serving, right? So we need more of that. And honestly, it really baffles my mind. But at the same time, it doesn't, because if you think about it, a lot of these police precincts and police departments are operating like a for-profit business. They're not really operating as a protecting and serving. They're operating as how much money can we make and how much hundreds of thousands of dollars can we siphon from the taxpayer and be inefficient about it and just waste it. That's how officers are being run now, departments, unfortunately. I hate to say it. The reality is, if we raise the bar, if we set the standard really high, we make it extremely difficult to become a police officer, right?
That's the key.
That's the key. Once you make the bar really high, and again, like I said, you make it only so that people that are actually part of the community are the ones protecting and serving the community that they enforce the law in, there becomes this shift. Because me as an officer, I know Karen. I know how silly her cat is. I know how she gets angry when her cat runs away. So she goes over to Sheila the next door and she yells at Sheila because Sheila didn't close the gate like Karen told her. And now I don't have to come and arrest Sheila and arrest Karen because they fought each other over why the cat ran out of and little things like that, right? Because guess what? Gary, next quarter, he's going to audit me. He's going to make sure I handle these kind of situations better. As a person who is the law and who is the enforcer of the law, I'm being watched. Not only by the dash cam, Gary's going to audit me. Gary's going to be on my ass. And if Gary gives me 3 strikes, I'm out of a job. The standard is high. Think of it this way. If you are a savant in coding, like I'll use a perfect example and I'll try to tie it to like being a police officer. If you're a savant in coding, Google doesn't just hire you. They know you're a savant. They've seen your code. Your code's genius. They know your code's fantastic. They're not just going to hire you. They're going to put you through the ringer. They're going to put you through the cycle. They're going to interview you 6 times. And then after the 6 times, you're going to talk to the VP. Then once the VP's done with you, you're going to talk to his VP. And then once he's done with you, you're probably going to talk to the COO. And then, the COO is done with you. The CFO now wants to have another word with you too. You're going to be interviewed like 12 to 20 times. But guess what? Once you make it on the other end, think of how respected and prestigious working as a code person for Google is. And think of how much money you can make. This is, I think, the solution to becoming a police officer. We need to make it a prestigious job again. We need to set the bar so high that only the best get to become enforcers of the law. And guess what? If you're not the best, Auditor Gary, every 3 months, every quarter, he's going to audit you. He's going to watch that dash cam footage. He's going to watch the body cam footage. If you're not up to standard, guess what, bro? Gary's going to cut you and you're going to be out of a job. And I think that kind of fire under your ass is going to force you to constantly be the best version of yourself. And you're going to be held to such a high standard that you will police yourself. You won't even worry about Gary, because guess what? You know that quarterly audit is coming. So you know, oh, damn, I have to be the best version of myself. Gary's watching. Even if Gary's not watching, the camera's watching, And I think more of that, especially the transparency, needs to happen. If we need to actually put officers that actually know the laws and actually know the rules and actually know where to send their resources, and they're not wasting time with, like Karen and Sally fighting and arguing over silly things, but they're actually catching whoever it is that broke in the back window and took my 55-inch TV from my room, actually solving crime. Like, let's let the police and the law actually be enforced, and let's let them actually solve crimes and problems that are actually affecting our community. And let's have them be part of the community so that they can actually protect and serve their community. Not just the community that you're from New York, come here, protect and serve in Seattle. That's not going to work. You don't have skin in the game. You don't know the neighborhood. So if you don't know the neighborhood, you don't get to be a cop here.
I love that. I mean, Silent, you really brought about a perfect conclusion to this dialogue, because when I opened it up, I was curious to see if we could even come to a conclusion. As you kind of open up an inquiry, it is fun listening to, I mean, these people that tie themselves to a philosophical doctrine are willing to fight it in a, thinking arena. It is impressive, and anarchists tend to impress me the most. But while it's fun kind of having them season a thought experiment, the answer does tend to find itself the same place, which is it's a great concept to think out. It's great to think private police would accomplish solving some of the stripes we feel currently. But the reality is, I think we have the thing closest to best system. And the only way to get it more perfect is, like you said,
adjustments.
Exactly. Sharpening those edges. I truly love your point about having people who are from the community, or at the very least,
important.
Exactly.
So important.
Something that ties them to the investment into that community. I don't care if it's like familial background, you are from there, or there needs to be something to where you are bound and invested in its success.
100%. 100%. Think of the ease too. Like, think of the ease. Like, let's say, like, you get pulled over. Oh my God, it's Bob. He sat behind me in science class in grade 10. How nice would that be? Now it's Bob that's enforcing the law. So if Bob messes up, I can text Bob later on Facebook, or like on WhatsApp, or on SMS or whatever, or give him a call. Like, yo, Bob, you were kind of mean to me, man. You gotta like, when you're on duty, bro, you gotta chill out a little bit. Yeah, bro, you're right. I had a long day. Yeah. Like, think of the transparency and the kind of like the community, like tightness that would bring to it,
I don't know.
Little
I don't
things
know if you
like
find
that,
it. I don't know if you find it as literal as being able to call up Bob, but if he's a fabric of your community, the community will hold Bob accountable. The community will be aware of the transgression, and he will be held accountable. Maybe not by you on a personal phone call, but it still finds itself. And again, that's just let the will of the people police the people. And you being a direct reflection of that. At the same time, it does come full circle to one of the points I raised at the beginning of the podcast, which is it is a problem when those that are the law, its standard is lower.
It's that low standard. 100%.
Its standard is lower than those that are trying to defend themselves against the law. So we need to raise that standard, like you said.
Exactly. And it's so easy to see. Like, you can see a lot of officers, bro, he's just there to get the paycheck. He doesn't care about the law. He doesn't care about Section 13.7 Florida that allows you to carry the gun openly. He doesn't care. He's just here for the paycheck. You can see it.
No, you're
Whereas,
right.
if the standard is high, like we just discussed, oh no, you're right. Yeah, Section 13. Yeah, I read that in the quarterly audit. They tested me and made sure I know this information, because it keeps happening when I'm patrolling the neighborhood and I see people fishing, carrying their AR and their Glock on the left hand and the AR on the right. But because it keeps happening, I brushed up on the law and I said, oh yeah, no. Yeah, they're allowed to do that. Let them do that. Open carry is permitted here.
Right.
See how easy that is,
And so again, not to parrot your full point as you concluded, but one of the final pieces that I really liked was fighting for the sake of transparency. That's all you need. This becomes easily resolved once we can have that clear, direct transparency. Hold them accountable. Once that is accomplished, I think the inquiry at the beginning of this podcast is answered. How do you create the most the closest to perfect system for your community? It is a system of law and order similar to one that we experience currently, but it's continuously striving to get to perfection through the pursuit of transparency and raising that standard. So again, it is an anarchy. We need a system of accountability that we can rely on, that you, I, and your neighbor, we all share. I think we are creating that currently, and it's only getting better. But it's only going to get better when we have real critiques like we did today, and we can actually follow through with action. I hope we can continue to experience that.
100%. I hope so too.
As the changing of the guard happens, up north with you guys in Canada and even here, it'll be interesting to see if that continues to progress or if we see a little bit of digression. But Silent, I appreciate you giving me your time and wrestling such a complicated dialogue here. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
And so please tell the folks where they can find you as you're grinding it out on a daily basis now.
Kick.com/SilentDestroyer. We're live every single day. Alex, thank you for having me. This was a great conversation. I had no idea what to expect. We've been wanting to do this for a long time, but I had a blast. This was a lot of fun, and we should definitely do another one of these sometime in the future for sure.
I would love that, because again, such complicated topics. Even our show, we do complicated topics on the live, but it's in 30-minute sound bits. And we did easily an hour and a half unpacking something that is not just something that you can. And we were able to come to an answer.
Yeah,
like that's the beauty of.
That's the nice thing about it. Yeah.
So, Silent, again, I appreciate you giving me your time. And if you guys at home or listen to us wherever you get your streams, if you appreciated my dialogue here with Silent, one of the things I want to emphasize is we go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. That's the Rethink Tank Live. And the beauty of that live show is we also rip it and put the audio up for streaming. So you can podcast, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. And you got this one here. You can also get our live show the Wednesday following it. But we also go live on YouTube and Rumble and Twitch and Kick, and you can find the live show and be like people like Brian Richardson and everybody else joining Silent on his Kick stream as we did the pre-record here, because the beauty of the live show is to get you involved. We want to have your perspective, season the dialogue, so we appreciate everybody that joins us for that. And we have a reactions channel and all this different content. You can find it all in one central place, and that's at our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. So again, I appreciate you coming along for the long ride here as we unpack some really fun and deep thoughts here. And we'll catch you on the next one. So be sure to join us at the live show. Don't miss more Silent, but then also catch the podcast. So guys, we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.
See you Tuesday, guys. Bye.